What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with WWE Last Week, your weekly look back at the week that was in the WWE. Now, cards on the table as they always are. I'm recording this in the middle of the week, and I'm going to just do whatever happens on SmackDown later on, just because I'm a little tight for time. So, anything that I talk about in this half of the pod that has changed between now and Friday when I record the SmackDown portion of the pod, sorry for the inconsistency, it's just a little bit of a hectic week for me, so I'm doing it this way and seeing if that saves me any time. But we got lots to talk about. We got lots and lots and lots to talk about. We'll do the headlines and the news and any other tidbits when I do SmackDown as well. So we'll get to, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. I don't think I'm going to do that in the first half. Let's talk about Raw. Raw started off with Jey Uso once again doing the huge, welcome to Monday Night Raw. See, here's the thing I like about that. The whole welcome to Monday Night Raw became a cliche, but now that WWE has acknowledged it as a cliche, when somebody new, quote unquote, gets to do it, there's something to that. I'm not saying it makes it good. I guess I'm saying it makes it less bad, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But Jey Uso comes out. Really, really nice detail. A lot of little tiny details that I liked on this show. One of them being all of Jey Uso's new gear. All of his gear, the way he's got his hair colored, all the graphics on his Tron and all that are blue. Polar opposite to the bloodline that he just left, which the majority of their aesthetic, the hair, the gimmicks on the t-shirts and the intros and everything was red. Now there's a separate irony that he's blue on Raw and the rest of them are red on SmackDown, but that's neither here nor there. The symbolism of him distancing himself as much as he possibly can from the bloodline is a really cool thing. Talks about how it's great to be out of the bloodline. Talks about how it's great to be here on Monday Night Raw. Now he's been there for 3 weeks. Maybe he needs to stop saying that. He's cut off by Kevin Owens. He says, you're not just on Monday Night Raw, you're on the KO show. I'm not here to start a fight with you, but I've been where you are. I've done a lot of bad things to a lot of good people, and it took a long time for me to earn people's trust. There are people out there to this day who don't trust me, but those people who don't even trust me yet are coming to me to talk about how they don't want you on Raw. It's going to take you a while to earn everybody's respect back. Cody gave you a shot by getting you here. Sammy gave you a shot by welcoming you with open arms. You've got a long way to go with me, which is kind of cool, kind of fair. Now, there's an idea going on around this that is kind of people looking to start an argument, I think, that this is sort of a symbol to CM Punk. Now, I'm not going to dwell on this because I think it's kind of dumb, but it's this whole Jey Uso coming to Raw, knowing that he's been in a lot of trouble in the past, and, do we want to give you a second chance or don't we? That whole idea is a fictional sort of bat signal to CM Punk, like, if you think you're coming back to WWE, I don't want you to do what you did in AEW. I don't think that's the case, because whatever you want to say about CM Punk, I should do a separate pod with all my thoughts and opinions about how CM Punk got fucked over by AEW twice, but I don't think I would ever fully wrap my head verbally around how bad I think that whole thing is. But whatever you think about CM Punk would draw money. CM Punk would draw money. Look at the second episode of Rampage. Look at the first episode of Collision. Look at the pay-per-view buys after CM Punk got there. Look at the people that he got over, like Darby Allin would have done for Ricky Starks if that hadn't gotten cut short. He helped them get to not 81,000, 72,000. Tony Khan's a liar in Wembley Stadium. But yeah, no, he's totally bad for companies. Yeah. Anyways, the fact that a lot of people are saying that this Jey Uso trying to be a babyface in hostile territory story is a signal to CM Punk, I don't buy it for a second. Judgment Day come out to cut all this off. They want to have his back. You don't have to prove yourself to us. Grand Slam Finn respects you. Kevin Owens does not speak for the locker room, and he sure as hell doesn't speak for us. Take your time. We've already given you the offer. The Judgment Day door is always open to you. Look at Dom. Dom said no to us 100 times. He wanted to stick with his dad, and then he finally saw the light. And look at him now. He's better than he's ever been. And even on commentary, they kind of had to admit that was true, which was good. I still do think it's a plot hole. Now, WWE's not perfect. I still do think it's a plot hole that they are flinging the doors wide open to Jey Uso, who could have been an opponent of theirs not too long ago, but they're keeping the doors nice and tightly shut, except for Finn Balor, to JD McDonough and making him do the hard yards to get into the Judgment Day. That part doesn't make sense. I'll give you that. 100%. But the rest of this, Jey Uso being in the Judgment Day would be fucking hilarious. Oh, yes. Kevin Owens challenges them for a tag team match. He said, Sami Zayn's not here tonight, but I'm looking for a fight. I'll take you both on, whatever. Jey Uso steps up. He says, hey, KO, you don't have to do this by yourself. Let me prove myself to you, etc. There's a 2-on-3 brawl as we go to the commercial break, and the babyfaces toss out the heels, even though they have the numbers advantage. Coming back from commercial break, it is the current undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions, Finn Balor and Damian Priest, taking on Kevin Owens and main event Jey Uso. Jey and Priest starts off really, really respectfully. This is a trend that sort of goes throughout the match. It's kind of obvious, but they really treat Jey respectfully as an opponent. It doesn't work the same way when Kevin Owens is in there. But clean breaks, no cheap shots, handshakes all over the place. As I say, not so nice when Kevin Owens is in there. Chop blocks, double teaming, cheap shots by Dom on the outside. Commentary make a point of mentioning how Jey Uso is here on Raw and his brother's having a real hard time on SmackDown. So I think they're sort of, with a backhanded kind of delivery, they are really sort of Janetty-ing Jimmy Uso. I hope that helps Jey, and it's Michael Cole who's on both shows, so he brings that commentary of, hey, I see both sides of the coin, let me just tell you about this and that. That kind of works. Michael Cole, underrated. Kevin Owens starts to struggle in the match as they start to work over his leg, but he still manages to get up on the turnbuckles for a tornado DDT. Avalanche twisting brainbuster to Finn by Kevin Owens, but Jey Uso... it's a little bit of a trope, but okay. A little bit of face miscommunication. Jey accidentally super kicks KO in the face. Coup de grace by Finn, and Judgment Day get the win. Now, this is obviously going to lead to more friction throughout the night between himself and Kevin Owens. That's not the last time we're going to talk about that. But here's another thing that I want to just... I don't know that it's a problem just yet. I don't. I want to think that it's not a problem. But I want to put it out to you guys. You guys can tell me down in the box below or find me on X at Spaz Phoenix. Jey Uso. The whole reason to bring Jey Uso over to Raw, I mean, in storyline, it's because he quit the WWE and Cody Rhodes gave him a second chance because Cody Rhodes is a hero. Fuck off. But in reality, it's the way to have him and for him and Jimmy to both have solo runs. One of them had to go to Raw. Or one of them would have had to go to NXT, but, you know, there's enough of that going on. We'll talk about that later. But Jey has come to Raw for a solo run, and he's already building all these weird alliances. He's on Raw because Cody Rhodes pulled some strings. He was welcomed to Raw with open arms by Sami Zayn. He is in this weird sort of, I don't really like you, but I've been where you've been, alliance with Kevin Owens. And he's being recruited by the Judgment Day, which would mean him joining another faction. All these potential partnerships are not... They're not screaming, hey, this is my solo run, look what I can do. They're great. They're immediately rubbing arms with, you know, former champions, immediately rubbing arms with super popular people like Kevin Owens, immediately rubbing arms with guys that some people like Cody Rhodes, immediately rubbing arms with the new biggest faction in the company in the Judgment Day. It's all good rub. It's all good association. I don't know what it's doing for him as a solo guy, especially as a guy that is so viewed through the prism of tag team wrestling. I don't know. You guys can let me know. I don't know that it's a problem just yet. We're in the first couple of weeks still, but it is what it is. In the back, Kevin Owens isn't here in any of the apologies. He says, why don't you go dye your hair and join your new bloodline? They're right down the hall. Wade Barrett on commentary makes another nice little shot across the bow talking about how Jey Uso is disturbing the usually harmonious Monday Night Raw locker room. I like that. I like that a whole lot. We replay Gunther beating Gable last week in what was a hell of a match. We see the Imperium arrive all in a limo, and they're all in suits, which is supposed to portray this super serious event, this super serious monumental achievement of Gunther, but in reality, all it does is remind me of not too long ago on Twitter, back when Twitter was Twitter, when all the pictures circulated from Walter's wedding, and it was really weird seeing Walter smiling, because he's a a really, really scary guy. Because it's 9/11, because it was on 9/11, I should say, we get a nice video package about 9/11. It's introduced by Michael Cole, which I think is a nice touch because, unless I'm mistaken, unless this is something that was just concocted in wrestling lore, I think it's true. Wasn't Michael Cole a news reporter, war correspondent before he became part of the WWE announce team? If that's true, then that's an awesome touch. If it's not true, it still kind of makes sense because Michael Cole is sort of like the senior voice of WWE. He did actually step into the shoes that we thought were impossible to step into, left behind by Jim Ross when he went over to the other side. But this was nice. On a separate note and on a side note, with the passing of the anniversary of 9/11, don't go on social media and send really, really horrific shit to wrestlers, superstars, anybody that you know was directly affected by the incident, because that makes you a piece of shit. Oh yes. Anyways, now later on in the night when we talk about the Imperium stuff, they had two pillars in the center of the ring that are meant to look like the entrance way. Maybe don't do the pillars because people are going to make the obvious Twin Towers jokes as well. But again, that shouldn't be on WWE's shoulders. That should be on individuals' shoulders to not be pieces of shit. Oh yes. Miz beat the shit out of Tozawa, and it was kind of funny. And I thought it was going to be a layup to some more interaction between him and LA Knight, seeing as they're fighting on Friday. But it wasn't. This was just the Miz getting his win back over Tozawa because Tozawa got a win over him because of LA Knight a couple of weeks ago. This was overkill from the Miz. This was everything I like about the Miz turned up to 11 character-wise. He hit him with this suspended lung blower off the apron, which looked like it fucking wrecked. And then he fucking killed him with the skull-crushing finale. Not once, not twice, but thrice. And Miz gets the win over Tozawa, and that was it. Like, there was no interference, there was no afters, there was no nothing, which is absolutely fine. In the back, Shayna Baszler's getting interviewed. She gives Zoe Stark her props for the match last week. Not really wanting to put her over too much, but saying, oh yeah, I'll admit she had a hell of a lot more in her than I thought. She gave me a better fight than I thought she was going to get, which is basically what they said to each other last week. Hey, you've got more fight in you than Ronda. Hey, you've got more fight in you than Trish, which is nice. Chelsea Green, who's looking for a tag team partner, because Piper Niven is injured, asks Shayna Baszler to be her partner because they're basically peers. Shayna Baszler responds brilliantly with, if you think you're one of my peers, why don't we step in the ring tonight and I can show you that you're not. Then Chelsea turns around and Piper Niven is standing right there, takes her belt back and fucks off. What? The Gunther Imperium celebration was what it was. They came out, they talked about how great Gunther's title reign is. He says, he does the whole, I want to thank absolutely nobody. Ha ha ha. I'm only competing with myself now to up the standard of my own greatness, blah, blah, blah. Gable comes out with the shoosh and Maxine and Otis and all that kind of thing. Last week was a match for the ages. I don't have any problem admitting that I still feel it this week. Congrats on making history. Last week I saw it in your eyes that I pushed you to the limit more than anybody else in your Intercontinental Championship run. I also saw the look on my family's face. I saw the tears in my kids' eyes that you caused. You lit a fire under me that it lit a fire in me that I can't put out, and it won't be put out until I make it right. I can speak, I swear, plus my writing is terrible. Don't know when, I don't know where, but I will win that title back again. Gunther calls him a terrible father, and yeah, Otis and Gable get their asses handed them in a 2-on-3 beatdown because we haven't had one of those already tonight. And there's a save made. There is a numbers equaling because a third party comes for the face side, and it's Tommaso Ciampa. For reasons. Now, if you go back into your NXT lore, American Alpha and DIY had great fucking matches. I don't think they're trying to tap into that at all. But if you recall, last Monday, Ciampa basically walked into Adam Pearce's office and we didn't know why. And it sort of like faded to black type of thing. So this is Ciampa looking for a new opportunity. Right now, he's helping Chad Gable. Chad Gable's the one chasing Gunther. But look down the roadway. Look down the road way. Now, I still want to see DIY reunited. I still think it would be really interesting if the trade compensation that was mentioned last week was Tommaso Ciampa, and Tommaso Ciampa showed up on SmackDown with Johnny Gargano as a tag team. But if we're going to detour from that, and Ciampa's going to take a run at Gunther and the Intercontinental Championship, that wouldn't hurt my feelings either. We get a video package, and this shit is doing my head in. I'm sorry, I defend WWE. I defend WWE to the hilt, as you guys know, especially with the guys on the other side just going down a cliff and selling half buildings and shit. But I can't abide this. I can't abide this shit at all. We get a video package on all the stuff between the New Day, the Viking Raiders, and, you know, Rated RK Bro 2KO, whatever the hell we're doing here with Drew and Riddle. Now, it's sketchily edited because immediately Matt Riddle is getting fucked with because something almost happened to him. So Riddle is the CM Punk of WWE right now. Let's talk about it. Actually, no, let's not. But I can't abide any of this. New Day are being dicks. Drew McIntyre is walking around with a chip on his shoulder like he's mad at everybody. And the Viking Raiders are the actual heels in the scenario. Woods and Drew have a confrontation in the back. They're both talking shit to each other. And then Woods says, hey, maybe you're so mad at Kofi because your win at WrestleMania happened in front of nobody. I have an idea. COVID sucked. Lockdown sucked. How about we don't use that as a fucking punchline? Just saying. Nothing against Xavier Woods. I like Xavier Woods. I think it's bullshit of the highest order that he's the only one in the New Day that hasn't been a world champion. Don't get me wrong. Big supporter of Xavier Woods. But he's playing a dick right now, which is fine. If New Day are turning heel, that's fine. How about we don't take fucking lockdown when we were all prisoners in our own fucking houses and use it as a fucking punchline? How about we don't do that? I signed up to not do that. Not cool. Not cool. I'm sorry. I know most people don't think that that's as shitty as it is, but no, I don't even want to go down that pathway. Big supporter of WWE, but it means you're going to hear about it when you piss me off. Just saying. If you're hiring who I think you're hiring, we'll talk about it later. Jesus Christ. I lost my place now. Sorry, guys. Drew versus Woods is a match. Drew McIntyre kicks the shit out of him. Woods has speed and evasion, but he gets monstered by Drew a lot. He chucks Woods over the commentator table, tosses him back in the ring. Eventually there's a Claymore and Drew gets the win. Cool. The sad thing is, if they hadn't done that thing in the previous segment there, I would have been saying this would have been a really cool match, cool victory, cool stepping stone upward for Xavier Woods. But no, fuck it, you ruined that. Rhea Ripley is seen getting ready for her match in the Judgment Day locker room, and I want to point out another little detail. It's kind of like Jey Uso's gear is like a little tiny detail that I liked. Another little detail that I liked is if you see that big purple dressing room that the Judgment Day have, you look in the far. If you look in the frame, it's probably on the left-hand side. They've got like a side table next to the sofa. There is a skull on the table because, of course, there is. And Rey Mysterio's ripped-up mask is on that skull. That's a nice, neat little touch. It doesn't build or destroy the world, but it's a nice, neat little touch. All right, if I wasn't pissed off enough, now I got to put up with Cody Rhodes on my TV. He's about to address why he brought Jey Uso to Monday Night Raw, but he's interrupted by Dominic and JD McDonough. By themselves, Dominic, who's probably the weakest member of the Judgment Day, and JD McDonough, who's technically not in the Judgment Day, they come out, they cut a quick promo on Cody on how he's going to feel really stupid when they convince Jay to join him and makes the Judgment Day stronger, rah. And then, because it's Cody Rhodes beats the two of them up because it's Cody, and of course he wins a 1-on-2 fight. We've had two other examples where 3-on-2 is a bad thing. Now, Cody Rhodes, he's getting beaten 2-on-1. Oh, but Spaz, you know, Dominic's a jobber and JD's new and Cody's a star. Well, okay. Cody Rhodes made his name somewhere else shitting on the WWE. That's what he did. He was Burger King saying, come eat our burger, it's not McDonald's. That's what Cody Rhodes is. That's what AEW is. AEW can fuck off as well. Backstage, Drew McIntyre, who's still in a bad mood and doesn't like anybody, steps up to Jey Uso, and Jey Uso's kind of sick of his shit and says, alright, if you got something to say about it, you and me next week. Nice. Jey Uso, Drew McIntyre, I will watch the fuck out of that match. Baszler versus Chelsea Green goes as you would think it would go. Baszler clearly owns it. Baszler has a quick face-off with Piper Niven, who came down to ringside with Chelsea, even though she doesn't seem to like Chelsea, and just sort of stole her belt back. Baszler gets the win. There's an attempted 2-on-1, and it's spoiled by Zoe Stark. As I say, Zoe Stark, Shayna Baszler, you want to make them a team for a brief time, that's cool. You want to even throw the tag team titles on them, that's cool. Get to WrestleMania next year, through the Royal Rumble, Baszler wins the Royal Rumble, give me Baszler versus Rhea Ripley in Night 2's main event, because if Cody Rhodes is going to win at WrestleMania this year, that does not need to be the Night 2 main event. Anyways, moving swiftly on. If you want to see a whole podcast on that, go back a few. I fantasy booked the entire thing from Payback to next year's WrestleMania, how we get to Shayna Baszler versus Rhea Ripley. Had a lot of fun doing it. I really wish more people would check it out. That's fine. Seth Rollins comes out and challenges Nakamura. Again, he's playing the guy who's injured but still wants to fight. I don't care what anybody says, I'm gonna fight. He talks about all his old gimmicks that he played before when he was in the Authority, when he was the Messiah, when he was the Savior, when he was the Shield guy. And then he finally found himself, and once he started being himself, people started to sing his song. I called out Nakamura last week, and I'm doing it again tonight. Nakamura is shown on the Tron, beating the shit out of Ricochet. He says, hey, sounds like you're looking for a fight, but I thought you weren't cleared tonight, so I started one back here all by myself. So is this... I don't know what this is. Are we going to incorporate Ricochet in this? Are we going to get to Fastlane and see these guys fight each other again, but along with Ricochet in a triple threat match? I don't know. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind Ricochet getting that spotlight. I'll tell you that for free. But I don't know what this is. I really, really don't. Backstage, you see Jey Uso is still walking around. Finn is trying to get in his head. The Judgment Day want you. The door's always open. You know, looks like Kevin Owens is pissed off at you. Looks like Drew McIntyre is pissed off at you. He doesn't mention Riddle from last week because Riddle's kind of getting fucked over by real life right now. That's fine. But he says, hey, even Rhea Ripley was interested in having you in the Judgment Day. And Jey Uso gives him a little bit of a look and a smirk like that. That was really good. This is going to do one of two things. Either he's going to be tempted to the Judgment Day for a little bit, which I wouldn't mind, or he's going to play them off of themselves, and we're going to get something like in War Games where he just turns on them and shows that he's a good guy. I wouldn't mind a surprise turn in War Games like Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai did at NXT War Games, if you guys remember that. But that's neither here nor there. The ironic thing about that is if Jay pulled a cool turn like that, solidifying himself as a face in War Games, it would be cool because one of the solidifying moments of the Bloodline, solidifying all of them together, the Usos, Solo, Roman, and Sammy, was in War Games. So there's some nice continuity there. I think that could be something. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass. Imperium versus the Alpha Academy and Tommaso Ciampa based on the interactions from earlier on tonight. Long match. This match was good. Didn't need to be nearly as long as it was. The commentators debate ad nauseum whether Gable deserves another shot at Gunther. Tommaso Ciampa gets the hot tag, and he's a House of Fire, and it becomes his match for a little bit. I think this was meant to divert our attention to a new Gunther-Ciampa feud, or at least Ciampa challenging for that belt, but it kind of didn't work because once Gable got back in after Ciampa's House of Fire spots, the crowd came up for everything that Gable and Gunther did. So clearly, at least in this arena, where were they tonight? I don't know. I didn't write it down. Shit. At least where they were tonight, people came up for everything that Gable and Gunther did. Ciampa and Gable get two members of Imperium in tandem submission moves. Ciampa using the Gargano Escape, which commentary called the Slice from Sicily or some nonsense, and Gable doing the ankle lock. So Gunther didn't tap, but he had a front row seat to his teammate tapping. So psychologically, there's still a cool story there to tell. I don't know whether this becomes a friendly rivalry between Gable and Ciampa, between who gets the next shot at Gunther. That could be a nice little thing. On NXT, they just did the exact same thing with Wes Lee and Ilya Dragunov, and we see where that ended up. In the back, speaking of NXT, we've got Becky Lynch, Tiffany Stratton from NXT, because they need to sign their contract on Raw for the title match that they're going to have the next night on NXT, which I thought was a bit weird. They cut pretty decent promos on each other. Tiffany Stratton should be on the main roster. I'm just saying, we're not going to talk about that match right now. We are going to talk about the Women's World Championship match that happened between Raquel Rodriguez and Rhea Ripley, which was a hell of a match, and they beat the shit out of each other. I think I like this match more than the pay-per-view match, if I'm honest. But that's not the story, is it? The story is that Raquel Rodriguez got attacked on the outside. Rhea Ripley got the win, and then Rhea Ripley got attacked after the match by Nia Jax. Why is Nia Jax on my screen? That's all I got. I got nothing else. Why is Nia Jax on my screen? Anyways, this concludes the Raw portion of the podcast. When I come back and record later on this week, you're going to get my full thoughts on NXT, because I haven't quite put that together just yet, and whatever happens on SmackDown. Hopefully they can turn the Jimmy Uso thing around and make him as good as his brother, but I'm not holding my breath. So I'm going to go for now. This is going to be a couple of seconds for you until we get the second half of the pod. Enjoy. Alright, welcome to the second half of the podcast, and we're going to talk about SmackDown that made me feel like I took a whole lot of drugs. But before we do that, I do need to talk briefly about what happened on NXT, so I will mention the couple of noteworthy things that came out of NXT. Dragunov and Wes Lee had a number one contenders match that Dragunov won, so he's going on to the pay-per-view, which we'll talk about later on. It also prompted a story where Wes Lee is quote-unquote quitting NXT. Now, that's hopeful for a couple of different reasons, because it means either he's going to have a comeback story in NXT, or he's going to go the way of Jey Uso, quit one brand and show up on another brand soon. If Wes Lee shows up on Raw or SmackDown, I will be hyped for that. There was a really weird exchange between Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker, where they're both kind of dicks, but they're dicks in different ways, and I don't know who we're supposed to cheer for. Corbin is great in this new reborn thing that he's doing, and Braun Breaker as a heel kind of looks like he's losing his mind a little bit. They're going to butt heads at the pay-per-view as well. And then the main event. Now, you guys have heard me say forever, and I will drill it into the ground until it actually happens. We need to have a redo of Shayna Baszler versus Rhea Ripley for the Women's Championship, because that's the NXT that beat Dynamite. I guess that means further in the future, we're going to have to do Becky Lynch versus Tiffany Stratton, because, oh yes, which show went over the million mark? Was it NXT? Yes. Was it AEW? No. In all seriousness, me being a dickhead aside, Becky Lynch versus Tiffany Stratton was fucking awesome. Becky made Tiffany Stratton look like $1 million, which isn't hard, because Tiffany Stratton is a really fucking good wrestler. But also, I gotta say, I'm a huge fan of Becky Lynch in general, as you guys know if you've been paying attention for more than 5 seconds. But this is better than Becky Lynch has looked in a while either, and I think it just took her doing something a little bit different. And I'm not throwing any criticism her way, but if stuff does get repetitive, then yeah, you generally, I should say, your investment is going to dwindle, because whatever you're doing this week is what you did last week, and what you did last week was fine, so this week will be fine too. Going down to NXT, paying homage to the fact that she was the one out of the 4 horsewomen, I should say 3 now, because there's only 3 left, but being the only one of the 3 horsewomen that didn't ever hold the NXT Women's Championship, and sort of closing that loop is a cool thing. Being one of the originals from NXT and having to visit this new, very different version of NXT is also a cool thing. And thirdly, I don't think anybody that I'm about to mention needs a carry job, but if you want somebody that on one end of the spectrum was on the other side of the ring for a Hall of Famer like Trish Stratus to prove that she could still go, and she can, and then throw it in reverse, go to developmental and see one of the most promising people in developmental and showcase how well they are as well. That's two sides of a spectrum that I don't think everybody can do. So huge shout out to Becky Lynch. To the people that are like, oh my god, they sent Becky Lynch down to bury the division. You need to fuck off and maybe go wash your AEW shirt. It's fine. We beat them for 1 week. It was a nostalgia run almost. But in general, look at your attendances. Look at your attendances. And I mean 81,000, 72,000. Oh, Tony Khan lied. Yeah. No, just NXT in general is doing really cool stuff. You guys know I don't, sorry. My microphone is doing a really, really funny thing. Sorry about that. I don't cover NXT every week because as much good stuff is going on that show, there's also a lot of goofy stuff as well. It does go very fast. It does jump from story to story to story to story very, very quickly, which isn't a super fun show for me to review week to week. So I don't, as you guys know. But the thing is, story to story to story to story to story, if they tell 12 stories and say 8 of them are good, and you're doing that all in a 1 week show, it's still worth watching, and it's getting back. It's not TakeOver era, it's not, but in the early days of the TakeOver era, there was a criticism levied on NXT where you could watch the pay-per-views, and the pay-per-view video package would tell you what you had missed week to week, and therefore you didn't have to watch the shows. Also, it was pre-taped, so all the spoilers were always out there. We're not quite in that era, but we are kind of in that era in terms of stuff to talk about. There's always going to be the conversation of Carmelo's the champion right now, so when I predict that he's going to win/lose that championship at that specific pay-per-view or whatever, I'm really making a prediction as to when they're calling him up to WWE. So a loss isn't a loss, etc. Really cool episode of NXT. Want to know what they're going to do with Wesley. That's an interesting story. Baron Corbin sort of shedding all the gimmicks and being reborn on NXT is fine. You gotta remember as well, Mustafa Ali is actually a main roster talent doing some stuff on NXT as well. And the Judgment Day are chilling down there as well because Dominic Mysterio is a champion down there. And Rhea Ripley mixing it up with Lyra Valkyria as well. So, yeah, there's a lot of crossover. The people that are going to cry and pretend that they care about the brand split and clutch their pearls and be strange can go be strange elsewhere. But really, really awesome. If you really want an honest recommendation, go check out the Becky Lynch-Tiffany Stratton match. It's really good. Tiffany Stratton looked good in defeat, and I'm pretty sure whoever gets that title from Becky Lynch is going to get a huge rub. Now, on a side note, I'd like to get a huge rub from Becky Lynch, but that's another story for another time. Either it's going to go back to Tiffany Stratton, or I predict there's going to be like a respectful face-face match between her and Roxanne Perez. Either one of those is absolutely fine with me, and Becky Lynch versus Roxanne Perez would be mint. Also, they teased something backstage between her and what's her name? The businesswoman. Kiera something. I can't think of her name. That's fucking... Kiana James. Kiana James. There we go. I was thinking Kiera Hogan, but that's AEW/Impact. Let's get off of NXT. Let's talk about a SmackDown that made me feel like I was on absolute drugs. A lot of news this week. There's the big NXT, the numbers on NXT, the numbers on Dynamite, respectfully. The return of Jade Cargill and subsequent what's going to happen with Jade Cargill soon stuff was going on. And then there was hints. You know, The Rock was supposed to face Roman Reigns last year at WrestleMania. They were this close. He admitted as much in an interview with Pat McAfee and hinted that it might be happening this year. People started losing their mind. Oh, come on. We've already reserved that spot for Cody in our minds because we're weird and tribal like that. But it also led to the rumors that both Pat McAfee and The Rock were in town for SmackDown. I didn't write down where SmackDown is, unfortunately, but we already knew that John Cena was going to be on the show because he was going to be on the Grayson Waller effect, and that's going to be our main event, spoiler alert. But the rumors that Pat McAfee or The Rock or both could potentially be on the show were answered pretty much immediately because the first thing to happen was, you know, the announcers welcome us to the show and whatnot, and then Pat McAfee's music that starts with the "Let's Go" hits, and he just kind of comes out there and does Pat McAfee stuff. Like, we've always said that wrestlers are annoying when they act like they're just happy to be there, but Pat McAfee is like half wrestler, half fan, half celebrity, so it kind of works. Says he was in the area, said he wouldn't miss it for the world, talks about how the WWE universe is the best universe in the world, and I wanted to stick a Star Wars joke in there, but I can't. Austin Theory comes out, and I'm like, alright, okay, what are we doing here with this weird segment with the celebrity and the up-and-coming guy? Pat McAfee, black pants, black tank top. Austin Theory, black pants, black tank top. Austin Theory coming out and saying, "Oh, I make this dress up look better than you," or whatever. This isn't SmackDown. This is Austin Theory Live. He makes some lame local city references. He says he's got unfinished business with Pat McAfee from WrestleMania. Says as I said, looks better in this outfit than he does and whatever. And he just talks down to him. Pat McAfee just talks down to him. He says, "You know what? That's where you're wrong. I'm here for the people. I'm here to have a good time. I love WWE. I love SmackDown. I love the people. And this isn't Austin Theory Live. This is the people's show." And you know what that means. And then The Rock comes out. And I don't care what you say about celebrities. I don't care what you say about part-timers. Whoever you like in WWE right now, they did not get a pop as loud as The Rock got on SmackDown this week. They just didn't. And The Rock comes out and did Rock stuff. You know, do you know whose ring you're in? The Rock takes his jacket off. He's also in black pants and a black tank top. The crowd goes nuts as he throws his jacket into the crowd. His jacket said Project Rock on it. Now, is that just another merch thing, or is that his new, like, actual project that he's working on? I really don't know. He said, Austin Theory steps up to him and says, you know, these people want to see Rock and Austin one more time. The Rock tries to talk, and Austin Theory gets to do the "it doesn't matter what your name is." And Pat McAfee, this is where I love Pat McAfee being a fan. He just sits in the back watching this happen, doing O-face, which is incredible. The Rock does Rock stuff. The Rock does Fruity Pebbles stuff. He says, "I'm going to get the crowd involved. We're all going to have a good time. This side over here is going to say, 'you are.' This side over here is going to say, 'an asshole.'" And they did that for like 3 minutes. Pat McAfee butted in and said, "You know, this is a 2-hour show." And it's like, "Yeah, but these are the people, and they can do it for 2 hours if they want to." Austin Theory, I have to say Austin Theory, because if I say Austin, I'm going to actually think about Austin and The Rock. They get into a bit of a thing, and he does eventually get buried, because it is what it is, and nobody's going to bitch about this on Twitter, because they don't like Austin Theory, which is strange. But they have a little, like, half-a-second scrap, but it started by Austin Theory jumping The Rock, and that is a difference. He did get to cut him off in the promo. He did get to fire the first shot. He did get to lay the first punch in before The Rock actually spinebustered. They didn't do a rock bottom. They did a spinebuster instead of a rock bottom, which is, you know, a little bugbear of mine when it comes to The Rock. Spinebuster, people's elbow, and then Pat McAfee at this point looks like he's on fucking cloud 11. He gets to do his own version of the people's elbow, and that's the end of the segment. This doesn't hurt Austin Theory. I know nobody cares about Austin Theory, because if I don't like him, it doesn't matter if anything bad happens to him, but this wasn't bad for Austin Theory. This was kind of cool, not gonna lie. I mean, Austin Theory is sharing screen time with Stone Cold, with Vince when he was allowed to be a person in society. He's shared ring time with Edge, John Cena, The Rock, Pat McAfee. Like, he ain't hurting for exposure. He's just not. Now, the first match of the night, and this is what I love about them. WWE are very, very precise with how they're using the tag team championships right now. They use the tag team championships as an excuse in general to have the bloodline on both Raw and SmackDown, and now they're doing the same thing with the Judgment Day, which means we get awesome matches like Finn Balor versus AJ Styles. Now, first of all, this had shades of that TLC pay-per-view where everybody got the mumps, and Finn Balor was supposed to face Bray Wyatt, and they couldn't give the crowd that, so they just said, well, Finn Balor and AJ Styles would be a cool match, and then they did the Too Sweet, and everybody jizzed in their pants a little bit. A little bit of storytelling here. Finn Balor's out with Priest and Dominic. It's explained to us on commentary that Rhea Ripley's not there because of the attack by Nia Jax. Why is Nia Jax on my screen? That's not a conversation to have right now. The other side of that story is that AJ Styles is also out there alone because he had an argument with the rest of the members of the OC last week. So Anderson isn't out there with him. Mia Yim isn't out. I'm not going to call her Michin. Fuck that shit. Mia Yim's not out there with him. Anderson isn't out there. And they tell us on commentary that Gallows is out with an injury, but they don't mention whether it was like at a show, at a live event, whatever, because the OC as a tag team, they don't wrestle very often, which is fine. It's an awesome match, obviously, considering the two people involved. Distractions by Dom and Priest right out of the gate, pretty much. But Priest, once Dominic has the referee distracted, Priest gets a pretty wicked-looking chokeslam on the edge of the apron, which, if Taz was still in WWE, I'm sure he would remind us is the hardest part of the ring. Styles tries to do a top rope Rana, but Balor blocks it, and that looked pretty sick, I'm not going to lie. He gets jumped, and they get caught trying to jump in and help again. The Judgment Day get ejected, but while they're being ejected and the referee is distracted, ejecting them, Jimmy Uso comes in for the distraction and a roll-up win for Balor. Sorry. Do the Simon Miller thing here. The most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up, gets the win for Finn Balor. I don't think it was actually a roll-up. I think it was a crucifix. But that doesn't make the joke work, so that's fine. So Jimmy is now tied to the Judgment Day, and they're trying to recruit Jay on Raw. They're not going to do this, but it would be really cool to see how far distanced away the Usos are right now. If the Usos do get back together as part of the Judgment Day, that's a really cool direction they could take this story. Now, you could say that Jay is on one show and Jimmy is on the other show, and they're a tag team because they're going to go for the tag team titles. You could do something really cool, like Priest wants a singles title and Finn Balor goes for a world title. So within their own faction, they decide to freebird those belts onto the Usos. You can get away with Jimmy having a story on SmackDown and Jay having a story on Raw, and them still being tag team champions and still being part of the Judgment Day. Yeah, you could. They're probably not going to do that, but they could. In the back, you've got Pat McAfee and The Rock hanging out. Pat McAfee says, hey, there's somebody behind you, but I don't think we can see them. And it's John Cena. And they do the big macho jock shit where they go face to face and pretend to be mad at each other before they give themselves a big hug. They're two big dudes. John Cena's a big dude. Let's be real for a second. But The Rock is gigantic. So when these dudes do like the bro hug, like you hear them impact each other. It's weird and fine and whatever. Balor catches up with Jimmy in the back. He says, wouldn't it be really cool, he says what I just said, wouldn't it be really cool to have both Usos under the umbrella of the Judgment Day? And he starts trying to win him over a little bit. Jimmy says, look, I don't want anything to do with your business. I helped you out because you helped me out. We're square, and all that kind of thing. Paul Heyman, the whole time in the background, watching this all go on like a very, very large snake in the grass. Finn Balor leaves the conversation with the line, hey, just remember, in the Judgment Day, there are no leaders, which means no Roman Reigns. And I thought that was key, that was great. What was not so great is the next bit, because it started off really good, and it gave us a really cool story development, and then it went kind of shit. You got the whole LWO out in the ring, they're all about to cut a promo. It's weird because Ray's dressed casual, Santos is dressed in a suit, and Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro are dressed to wrestle. And Zelina Vega, I love her to death, but she's doing her weird gamer cat ears thing. I don't... It's not bad, but I'm not going to pretend that I get it. How about that? They cut a promo about the LWO and how much it saved him and it saved his career, and it brought him back from a pretty dark place after his fallout with Dominic. Now, I'm surprised that Dominic didn't come out and interrupt this promo, seeing as he's able to be on SmackDown now, but that's neither here nor there. He talked about what it meant to him to be the United States champion, and then Santos gave the mutual respect back to Ray. He's like, it's always been... a dream of mine to face my idol with a title on the line. So it's been your dream to face one of your heroes and take something from them. And then Ray kind of does the same thing that Rock and Cena did in the back. He did that whole, pretend, you mean you're asking me for a title shot? And then the smile breaks, and I was like, of course I'll give you a title shot. It'll be my honor. And then they both speak to each other in Spanish, and it's absolutely fine. And it's cut off by Lashley and the Prophets, who... Man, there's one dude in that group that I give a shit about, actually ascending anywhere good, and that's Montez Ford. I feel bad for Montez Ford for what he has to go home to, but that's another story for another day. This whole, we're going to be the cool heels that everybody cheers, and then that's going to kind of negate the fact that we kind of fail as heels if everybody's cheering for us. And they do a weird brawl in the ring that ends up with the two members of the LWO that are dressed to fight, having a fight. Look at that surprise. And they get squashed. in like 5 seconds. And I'm like, why? I mean, then I looked in the ring, I saw who was in the ring, and I saw why. But even still, later on in the night, they announced that there's going to be a match again next week, except this time it's going to be the Street Profits versus Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar, which I'm sure there will be some babyface miscommunication leading to some dissension before they have that title match. They didn't announce when that title match is going to be. I'm assuming it's going to be Fastlane, but as I'm looking at my notes right now, there's not much on the Fastlane card so far. Now, there's stuff on the No Mercy card, which we will get to in a bit, but I don't know, man. I don't know. It's one of those, if you want to do a implosion of the LWO, meaning that some of them are going to stay faces and some of them are going to stay heels, don't put them up against a faction who, in their own creative direction, can't decide whether they're baby faces or heels. That's some borderline AEW shit right there. I'm looking at you, BCC. Oh, yes. We get the announcement that the Rumble is going to be in Tampa, Florida next year. Wouldn't it be really awesome? / really unfortunate, depending on if you're a Cody Rhodes fan, if the most famous wrestler alive from Tampa, Florida happened to win the Rumble and we get a better match than Roman versus Cody, like, I don't know, Roman versus The Rock. I'm really, really surprised, actually, that they didn't have The Rock announce that it was going to be in Florida. But, again, nitpicking. Miz versus LA Knight. Here's the thing. There's not much to talk about in the match, because these two guys aren't match guys, they're character guys. Character work in this match was great. I really like the fact that they did a full-on, long video package before this match. They treated this match like a pay-per-view match, and this match was better than their pay-per-view match because it didn't have the distraction of John Cena in it. They got the tiny balls chant. The match is as fun as you would expect. Blunt force trauma, and LA Knight gets the clean win. And then LA Knight I can speak, I swear, cuts a post-match promo. There we go, words in order, make a sentence. He cuts a post-match promo talking about the fact that he needs some gold. And he calls out Gunther, calls out Rey Mysterio, calls out Seth Rollins, and calls out Roman Reigns, which is interesting because LA Knight is slowly getting integrated with the Bloodline story. Kind of like Austin Theory. They're not really going to do anything with Austin Theory, but they keep putting him with big people. LA Knight, who everybody likes, keeps getting himself closer and closer, edging closer and closer. We saw the interaction that he had last week with Paul Heyman. This is a step in the right direction. LA Knight, along with The Rock, along with... You know what? I wouldn't mind a total surprise this year. Like, people are always saying, take somebody like Braun Breaker and put him in the Rumble and have him win. Why not? If you put Braun Breaker, actually, I'm going to say that I'm going to go off on a tangent now. If you put Braun Breaker in the Royal Rumble and he wins and he chooses the world title, you've got Braun Breaker versus Seth Rollins, which they already typecast in NXT, and we already know that it's good. So, it's not the worst thing in the world either. But when I say surprise, I'm thinking about somebody like a Grayson Waller. I really am. Grayson Waller versus Seth Rollins as a here you are on the biggest stage, step up or step off moment for Grayson Waller would be great. Remember that Jericho came back to the WWE for a WrestleMania match with Fandango. So, and that's not a dig at Fandango. Fandangoing do was really good. It was really good. Really enjoyed that a whole bunch. But yeah, LA Knight gets his win over The Miz. The Miz goes back to Raw. Lots of crossover on this show, and lots of outside stuff as well. If you look at this show, you got Pat McAfee, you got The Rock, you got John Cena, you got Miz, you got the Judgment Day. There's a lot of stuff from a lot of other places that went into making this show good. The next match that we got was really a precursor to the following week's match, and it was Asuka taking on Bayley, because Asuka is taking on Io Sky next week for the WWE Women's Championship. We get a promo in the back between Dakota Kai and Bayley talking about just, let's not worry about Io being ready next week because that match is going to be fucking good. Let's talk about you, why aren't you worried? You're focused too much on Shotzi. My girl Shotzi's getting some shine too. It's all good. Dakota looks at her and says, the real question, to be asked tonight is, are you ready for Asuka? These two, I will never have anything bad to say about Bayley and Asuka. Bayley and Asuka, not somebody else that will go nameless, are the two women, actually I should say three, Bayley, Asuka, and Rhea Ripley. the ascension of Rhea Ripley were the three women on the women's side of things that kept us all sane during the pandemic, in the before time, and the long, long ago. So I've got a lot of love and a lot of respect and a lot of time for both of these ladies, and they're fantastic wrestlers as well. If you switch around who's in the Four Horsewomen and take the ungrateful piece of trash out and replace her with Asuka, and the Four Horsewomen were then Bayley, Asuka, Charlotte, and Becky, then you'd have a really good team, and then I would have gotten on board for the WWE Four Horsewomen versus the UFC Four Horsewomen. But I don't know, the sting of things to not be, or whatever poetic shit you want to say. Bayley talks a lot, makes Asuka look awesome. Sorry, Bayley takes a lot of offense. There we go. Again, words into a sentence. Makes Asuka look awesome as they do. They brawl to the outside, and Shotzi shows up in the crowd, scared, back in the ring. Asuka gets a quick roll-up, gets the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up, and then they chase away Dakota and Bayley. It's weird I like having Dakota Kai back, don't get me wrong. I think she's great. I think when she gets back in the ring, it'll be fantastic. That'll be after Damage Control breaks up, I think, at this point, though. You get this really cool, awkward, like, we're both a little bit fucked up fist bump between Shotzi and Asuka. Shotzi and Asuka is a tag team I could get on board with, not gonna lie. And, like I say, my girl Shotzi, I'm always a little bit biased towards her, so any shine she's getting, like a rivalry with one of the horsewomen, is always good in my books. If we take it out to Fastlane and we finally get a one-on-one match on pay-per-view, Bayley versus Shotzi, and somehow negate the involvement of Dakota Kai and Io Sky, and have that one-on-one match, I think that'll be so much fun. But we're not quite there yet. What I thought was going to be a lot of fun, what I thought was going to lead to something, was the Grayson Waller effect with John Cena. Waller comes out, does his opening spiel like he usually does, puts down John Cena and says, you know, you've achieved everything. You're the greatest of all time, but you're not the greatest of this time. You know, you're starting to fade off. You don't even really want to be here. Look, at the pay-per-view, you were a host. You were an in-ring referee. You don't want to be an in-ring competitor anymore. You don't have it anymore. And if you were brought up with a good mother like mine, you would know to take off your hat when an adult talks to you. Thought that was great. John Cena takes the hat off, John Cena takes the shirt off. John Cena's twice the size of Grayson Waller, so that's kind of funny. And it's cut off by that new music that I still don't know whether I like or not. It's Jimmy Uso. Jimmy Uso comes out, and he doesn't want a microphone, he doesn't want anything. He's like, you embarrassed me last week, now I'm telling you, I'm standing here right in front of you, telling you to do something about it. And they're about to do something. He calls Grayson Waller Kangaroo Jack, which just popped me. Grayson Waller is one of the coolest guys for doing a show like this. You know, you get Miz TV and The Cutting Edge and The Peep Show and Piper's Pit and all that sort of thing, because he doesn't get into the fights, like, ever. He brings out a guest. That guest is interrupted by somebody else. They have a fight. He stays behind his desk and pretends like it's a real talk show that's going to get real ratings. There's a Jerry Lawler, Andy Kaufman reference to make in there somewhere, but somebody more up on their history could probably make the joke better than me. So he's about to fight John Cena. Jimmy is about to fight John Cena. Solo shows up behind. He thinks that he's going to get help from his little brother. His little brother goes in to beat up John Cena and then gets pissed off when he starts joining in on the beatdown. Like, I'm out here handling our business. You can't do this. There was a promo earlier on in the night between Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa. Solo Sikoa wanted to go handle his business with his brother, and Paul Heyman basically telling him, you can't because I haven't gotten the order yet. Solo's getting this close to the whole I don't take orders from anybody cliche, but we'll get there when we get there. So eventually it is a 2-on-1 on John flippin' Cena. It's not like Raw when it was a 2-on-1 and Cody Rhodes, because he's the new John Cena, beat them off like flies. John Cena, because he knows how to be a star and what to do with his stardom, actually takes the beat down a little bit until he's saved by AJ Styles, which is weird. Because think about the history that he has with AJ Styles. AJ Styles comes out, makes the save, and the faces stand tall to end the night. I don't know what to do with any of that. Waller interviews Cena. Cena's cut off by Jimmy. Jimmy is joined by Solo, who's not really his partner, but kind of. They double team John Cena. AJ makes the save. AJ and Cena stand tall at the end of the night. I don't know what that is. Unless they're going to do a one-off John Cena and AJ Styles versus the remaining two pieces of the bloodline, which I don't really care that much about. I would much rather see AJ Styles and John Cena take on the Judgment Day. That would be a lot of fun, I'm not going to lie. I would rather see John Cena and The Rock take on the Judgment Day, but that sounds like I'm making a slight on AJ Styles, which I'm definitely not. Let's talk about what we got coming up next week, because it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, news-wise, I haven't even touched on the TKO thing yet. I don't know what to say about the TKO thing. I'm not a business guy. There's going to be a lot of cuts coming. A lot of them are going to be like office-related cuts, people that we don't see on TV anyway. It doesn't make it any less sad that they're going to get cut, but I'm not a business person. I don't know how mergers like this work. You're talking about a combined company that's apparently worth $21 billion. Apparently somebody from the UFC side said that TKO's ultimate goal is to make every WWE fan a UFC fan and every UFC fan a WWE fan. And even Dana White from the UFC said, nah, I love that guy, but that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. And it's true. It is kind of funny to me. I'll say this, because you're not going to merge those two groups of fans completely, because they are two different things at the end of the day. It's like trying to merge stand-up comedy and karaoke. I'll go for both, but I'm probably not going to go for both in one night. I do think it's kind of funny that TKO kind of has a stranglehold on fighting now, both real fighting and fake fighting. That's a cool thing to bring up. I don't think it goes into a blender, so to speak, and I think that's okay. They're talking about making like superstar weekends where there's Friday night SmackDown and then a Saturday UFC show and then a Sunday WWE show. Now it's gonna be good and bad for me. I'm gonna get my Saturdays back, but also I kind of like Saturday pay-per-views. I'm really starting to get used to that. I like Saturday pay-per-views, and because they're doing more international shows, I'm starting to like shows in the middle of the day. I really am. Like, when they were in the UK, it was in the middle of the day. The Saudi shows, which, you know, you're not supposed to talk about, but I'm talking about time. I'm not talking about morals in this case. When they did the Australian show, I woke up at like 6 in the morning to watch that show, and then I had the rest of my day. I'm really starting to enjoy the midday shows. They do NXT now. On WrestleMania weekend, ever since WrestleMania has become 2 nights, the NXT show, not TakeOver, but whatever, the Stand and Deliver, is like Saturday afternoon, and it's a midday show, and it's really nice. I like the midday shows. I like that they happen on a Saturday instead of a Sunday. If that goes away, I'm going to be kind of bummed. It'll be kind of funny to see if they run up against an AEW pay-per-view, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, the whole TKO thing will be interesting. I was watching NXT, because NXT would technically be the first show that went out under the TKO banner, because the last night of what people are calling the McMahon regime, because he's such a bad guy, was 9/11, unironically. The only reason I find that ironic is, and I might have said this in the raw half of the video, so excuse me if I'm repeating myself, but I think it's kind of ironic that the last day of McMahon having total control over WWE was 9/11, because one of my preeminent memories of Vince McMahon is the speech that he made on SmackDown 2 days after the incident of 9/11. Now, I'm not American. I'm not going to pretend to know what it was like for the Americans to go through something like 9/11. I'm not trying to put myself in that spot, so please don't take me wrong, but it's still like, when they do a documentary about the life and times of Vince McMahon, that night will probably be pretty significant in the grand scheme of things. That's just my opinion. But I was watching. But the point of that being, the first day of actual TKO ownership, when they announced themselves on the stock exchange and all that kind of thing, would have been Tuesday, which was NXT. So I was looking all over the place for that nice, nifty green TKO logo. Didn't see it on SmackDown either. But we'll see how it goes. Like I say, I don't know how the business end of things works. Whoever loses their job, obviously that's shitty. That should go without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. Next week, what do we got? We got Drew McIntyre taking on Jey Uso on Raw. We got Nakamura taking on Ricochet on Raw. It wasn't announced until SmackDown, but we've got Dominic and Mysterio taking on Cody Rhodes on Raw. On NXT, we have Dominic Mysterio taking on Carmelo Hayes in a champion versus champion showcase on NXT. I'm sure there will also be the fallout from Becky Lynch becoming the new champion, which will be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see who her competitor is going to be at No Mercy, which we're going to talk about in a second, but I'm sure it'll be somebody. I'm sure it will be a rematch with Tiffany Stratton, and that's where we'll find out whether it was just I beat her to put her over, or I beat her to put somebody else over. Because Tiffany Stratton's already been elevated. If they have a match on a pay-per-view, it'll be the biggest, best pay-per-view match Tiffany Stratton has ever had. And if Becky Lynch wins, she's still elevated Tiffany Stratton twice. And say she drops it to Roxanne Perez, she elevates Roxanne Perez, who's already also awesome. Later on down the line, you've got a match between Tiffany Stratton and Roxanne Perez with two talents that have been immeasurably elevated by somebody like a Becky Lynch, which is awesome. SmackDown next week, we've got the Street Profits taking on Rey and Santos Escobar, and you've got Asuka versus Io Sky for the Women's Championship, which I assume will be the main event. There are the rumors that Jade Cargill's coming to WWE. I will say here what I've said elsewhere, what I've said on X, etc. I don't particularly like Jade Cargill. I don't care. You can come at me with the R word. I'm just going to come back to you with facts. She's not that great. She was booked like Ryback, and then she went away for a while. If you disappear as soon as you're not champion, that says a lot. That says a lot about you, and it says a lot about how the company sees you. And how that company sees you. That company is AEW, and they clearly made her a project. They got that belt off of her. They gave it to her to hold on to until Statlander came back from injury. They got it off of her, and then we never saw her again. So the company that made her, a gigantic project, didn't even see much in having her there, and she doesn't sound like she wanted to be there either. So why should I care if you don't, is the other side of that argument. Now, I don't like her. I think she's obnoxious. Do I want her in WWE? No. Do I want to have to watch her on my WWE television screen? Absolutely not. On the other side of the coin, if she comes to WWE, if she chooses WWE, then we have a new conversation to start. And that conversation does not revolve around Jade Cargill. That conversation started with Cody Rhodes. It will continue with Jade Cargill, and it will roll downhill from there. When AEW started, and not saying this is a good thing, not saying this is a bad thing, everybody on social media, because WWE was worse at the time, we're talking 5 years ago now almost, oh my god, this is my favorite person, that's my favorite person, I hope AEW saves them, I hope AEW saves them. Well, yeah, they saved Aleister Black, and what did he get to do? He got to hold on to some belts until the Elite got back. He saved Ruby Soho, who got put as a sidekick in a group, which is basically what she was doing on WWE. I mean, I could go on and on down that list. Obviously, the big names that were big names made in WWE, clearly AEW made something off of those big names that they made in WWE. That's not the point. But everybody was going to be saved. AEW were the messiahs. Tony Khan could do no wrong. And there was a mass exodus. And there was a mass exodus. Follow the golden calf, follow the Pied Piper, whatever metaphor you want to use. And some people have found out since then, one in particular, that the grass is not always greener on the newer side. So when the exodus starts coming this way, when it's Cody Rhodes, potentially CM Punk, potentially Jade Cargill, the other names that I've heard mentioned are Danny Garcia, FTR, Ricky Starks. I don't believe it personally. I think he will stay, but somebody like Sammy Guevara. I just hope that all those people that defended it a couple years ago that said, oh, this is the joy of having more than one company, everybody should be able to move freely, I wonder if they will have that same flower petal covered view when people start going the other way, when the rats start leaving the Titanic. I really hope that they can maintain that level of objectivity. I really do. I'm not very hopeful on it. I'm really not. Do I care about Jade Cargill? No. Do I want to see her on my TV screen? No. Does it open up a larger conversation that will be a lot of fun? Yes. And will I laugh that somebody that was made such a project in AEW still recognizes that WWE is the better option? That one of the guys that created AEW still recognizes that WWE is the better option? If the guy who came and actually got ratings on Rampage and actually got ratings on Collision realizes that WWE is still the better option, yes, I will start laughing. Yes, I will. Because you're talking about people, potentially, at least with Punk and Cody Rhodes, who have been in both and made an educated decision. If you had people before, and I use Ruby Soho as an example, and I feel okay using Ruby Soho as an example, because I thought about it. I thought, Ruby Riott isn't being used very well in WWE. I wonder if she goes over there. I wonder if they'll do something good with her. I hoped that it would be like that for some people. But she didn't know, because she'd only been in WWE. She didn't know what AEW was like. If you now get people, and I'm not saying you're going to get a Mox, and I'm not saying you're going to get a Jericho, and I'm not saying you're going to get a Bryan. I'm not going off helter-skelter in all directions. But if you start getting people that are currently in AEW, that have been in both companies, and make the educated choice to come back to WWE, that will eventually start making a statement. It will. I'm sorry, but it will. Jade Cargill, don't care. Jade Cargill opens up a wider conversation, and I will start laughing. I don't care how petty that makes me sound. I really don't. Now, looking forward, past next week, we don't really have anything for Fastlane yet, unless they've redone the Wikipedia in the last day or two, but we don't have anything set for Fastlane yet. But what we do have is NXT No Mercy, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. Noam Dar defending his Heritage Cup against whoever wins the International Heritage Cup Open Championship thing. I really hope it's Pete Dunne. That's just my personal guess. Somebody like a Nathan Frazier or an Axiom would also be a lot of fun, but I think somebody like Noam Dar and the cool, like, the metaphor and all that kind of stuff that he's doing right now, and the cool, like, just pissant character that he's playing right now, coming up against somebody like Pete Dunne, and I'm sorry, for one night only can we call him Pete Dunne, would be really cool. Braun Breaker. Whenever I see Braun, I think Strowman, even though they're not even spelled the same way. But Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin is a match that I just want to look at. I don't know what I'm supposed to think about it, and I don't really care who wins, but it'll be fun. Dominic Mysterio defending the North American Championship against Mustafa Ali, and Carmelo Hayes once again defending his NXT Championship against Ilya Dragunov will be a lot of fun. Will the Wesley thing come to fruition on that pay-per-view? We don't know. We will do a proper preview when on the week where that is actually coming. Now, what's the stories going on right now over on Raw? We've got Jey Uso making friends and making enemies, kind of in equal measure. We've got that new burgeoning partnership between Baszler and Stark, which is going to be kind of cool. Tommaso Ciampa throwing his hat in the ring to be part of the Intercontinental Championship title race. The New Day are dicks. That's fine, I guess. NXT getting wicked ratings off the back of Becky Lynch being their new championship is kind of awesome. Judgment Day being on both shows and stirring up bullshit with people on both shows. Trying to recruit both of the Usos is very cool. A lot of cool stuff happening. Not all of it is perfect. Not all of it is perfect. The Bobby Lashley group is not off to a great start. The return of Nia Jax is not great. Jade Cargill coming to WWE. Probably, let's be real, it's 2023. She's probably coming to WWE to squash Rhea Ripley because 2023 is stupid and we live in clown world. But those things aside, WWE's got a lot going for it right now, and they got a lot more money behind them now. Let's buckle up and see where the ride takes us. I've been Spaz, your YWC reality chick. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all of these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.